Hello and welcome to French Fried Trains. It's Father's Day, 2019. We're in Hamilton, Ohio. We didn't have to wait very long to see some action. I was sitting by the McDonald's and this CSX high railer came down the rails. Once the high railer had passed and disappeared out of sight, I hung around by McDonald's for probably 25 to 30 minutes. I saw the signal had gone yellow, and about 10 seconds after I noticed the signal, I heard the first horn of this train approaching. He's running real slow through all these curves in town. Love the sound of that constant bell. In an SD42 leading. This CSX train strolls slowly through town on this hot Sunday afternoon. A good mix of everything on this train. There's even some auto wrecks thrown in. Like I stated in a previous video, trains have to go slow through Hamilton due to all the switches, interchanges, and curves. And a weird little creature painted on the side of this boxcar. The sun was beating down and it was so hot that day, and this train was going so slow that it seemed like me standing there filming it took an eternity, but it was worth it. I was unaware at the time of seeing this train that we would be seeing much more of this train later in the day. Without even intending to, we see this same train a bunch more times later that day. And an old white Conrail coil shield car. There are a couple of those on this train. And now we're at the end of the train. At the time, I thought that's all we would see of this train. I ended up staying in Hamilton for another hour or two. We went and explored some of the sites and actually caught a different train, a CSX Intermodal, which I showed you guys in my last video if you want to check that out. Like I said, during the lull between trains, we checked out some of the sites in Hamilton. Here's the old cabin that's downtown. Once we had actually left Hamilton and started heading back north towards Trenton, we were out by the New Miami Yard. When we had turned on the road to head back, we saw a train was stopped across the tracks at the north end of the yard there. We waited about 10 or 15 minutes with this stopped train blocking the road to see what would happen. Soon, it slowly crept forward, and then it stopped and backed up, and you heard the sound of it coupling up to something. So, we waited a little more, and then it started moving out of the yard. That's when I hopped out with the camera and started recording this footage. Due to the fact that this train was already stopped blocking the road when we pulled up, we did not see the locomotives. So at the time, I did not realize this was the train we had seen earlier in Hamilton, the first one I showed you in this video. They had apparently coupled on this large cut of empty flat cars used for steel slabs while they were in this yard. This is a pretty decent sized cut of empties. Note the CSX yard worker approaching in a pickup truck now. I ended up not recording all the way to the end of this train, just due to the fact that the yard worker was coming up, and I didn't know how he'd react to me filming him doing his job. The train ended up passing through the crossing, and the yard worker threw a switch. We decided to hop in the car and leave and head back towards Trenton. Well on the road back to Trenton, once the foliage had cleared and we were driving along the siding, we seen the same train that just had pulled out of the yard, parked in the siding, so I got this pacing shot. I apologize for the dirtiness of my window, but that window doesn't go down on my van. It was when I saw this small cut of auto racks, I started to suspect this was at least part of the train I had seen earlier in Hamilton. It was now, this moment, when I saw the locomotives, I knew this was the same train we had seen in Hamilton. They had taken some of his cars off and put that big cut of empty flat cars on the back of them. He was stopped in the siding and he didn't show any sign of moving for about 20 minutes. So we continued on to Trenton. We're in Trenton City Park now. I heard a horn in the distance and walked over as close as I could get to the rails from this park. Sure enough, he was soon here. This once again ended up being the same train, which was kind of a surprise to me. With him being stopped in the siding outside the yard, I had assumed in my head that he would be backing up and hooking even more cars on. But no, he left and headed northbound. And here he is now under steady acceleration. Northbound out of Trenton and headed up towards Carlisle. After seeing this train so many times that day, it was nice to finally see him under power and at track speed. And now once again, we're into that cut of empties. that's all we have for now on French Fried Trains. Thank you all for joining and listening to my story of how I inadvertently caught the same train multiple times in one day without even trying. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great week, everyone.